Hey guys, Joe here from Wild Aquatics and Exotics. This is the second video in our Getting Started series where we take you through the practical process of setting up your first freshwater aquarium. In our previous video, we took the important step of planning the setup and our choice of livestock. And now that we've bought all the equipment we need, in this second episode, we'll actually be setting up the aquarium and getting it up and running. At this point, you should have a good idea of your aquarium's location in your house. Make sure it's close to electrical points, out of direct sunlight, and in an area of consistent temperature, i.e. not near a window, and preferably not in a busy, high-traffic area like a hallway. Before we place anything in the aquarium, let's make sure that the area around it, as well as the surface it'll rest on, is secure. Aquariums, when filled, can be very heavy, so we want to avoid any disasters. Once that's sorted, get the aquarium into position, give the inside a clean, and we're ready to start decorating. It's worth noting that if you've bought a background, you should add it at this stage. If you're using a photo paper background, I highly recommend using the gel that adheres it to the glass, as this will make the colours appear much brighter. You can also go to the bathroom section in a DIY store and purchase a frosted glass adhesive backing. Alternatively, for a plain colour background like black, white or blue, you can use an acrylic paint on the outside of the aquarium. Acrylic paints are easy to apply and can be removed from the back of the glass with a razor blade later on if you change your mind about the colour. Now let's prepare the substrate. Pour the sand or gravel into a bucket and give it a rinse with cold water from the tap, being careful not to let any loose substrate go down the drain. Depending on the grain size, there might be a lot of dust trapped inside, and we don't want that in the aquarium. Think of it like washing your rice before cooking. Once rinsed, you can pour the substrate into the tank. If you're not planning on keeping loads of live plants that need deep soil to root in, you can keep the substrate depth a bit thinner, as a thinner layer is easier to clean during maintenance. As a beginner, if the substrate layer is too thick, it may trap a lot of debris, which can be harder to clean later on. For example's sake, let's aim for about a 1-inch thick substrate layer. Next, place the rocks and wood where you like. Feel free to draw inspiration from display tanks at shops or online, both for beginners and professionals. Make sure all decorations are stable and secure so they won't fall over. Also, note that initially the wood you've purchased is likely to float. It's best to soak it in a bucket beforehand until it becomes waterlogged and sinks. If you can't do that, you may need to temporarily weigh it down with something. When you're happy with the hardscape layout, it's time to set up your equipment. Depending on the size of your new aquarium, you'll likely either have an internal filter or an external one. If you have an internal filter, attach it to the side of the tank using the suction cups and point the outflow near the water's surface. You want to promote good water surface movement for gas exchange. For an external filter, position the inflow and outflow in a similar way so that the water moves the debris off the tank floor and into the filter's inlet. This can always be adjusted later on. Connect all piping to the external filter and set it up according to the instructions. As this is going to be a tropical freshwater aquarium, don't forget to add a heater. Place it discreetly on the back of the tank, but ensure it's not sheltered from the water flow, so not within a cave or hiding spot. Good water circulation around the heater ensures even heat distribution. When setting up electrical equipment, it is crucial to tie a drip loop in the cables before they reach the socket. If water were to run down the cable, the drip loop would ensure the water falls to the floor and not into the plug, which could be dangerous. I also recommend plugging all electrical devices into a surge protector to avoid any issues during power cuts. For the lights, remember to get yourself a plug-in wall timer so that they turn on and off automatically. Make sure to only have the lights switched on for 8 to 10 hours per day, but the other equipment should be on 24/7. Remember, never turn on the heater or filter pump when they're not submerged in water, as this can cause overheating and damage the equipment, or could cause harm to yourself. Now it's time to fill the tank. You can pour cold tap water in from a bucket, but that might blast the substrate everywhere and disturb your decorations. I suggest using a watering can with a rosette attachment to pour the water slowly and gently. While filling, double check for any leaks in the silicone. If you spot any, stop immediately and contact the shop where you bought the tank. Leaks are very rare, but it's always good to be cautious. Once the tank is full, add the appropriate amount of tap water conditioner to remove the chlorine. Going forward, always add Dechlorinate to your tap water before it goes into the aquarium, but because this is the first fill, you can dose the entire tank at once. If you have an external filter, you'll need to prime it so that the water siphons from the aquarium into the filter. Follow the instructions on your specific model. Now that everything's set up, you can switch everything on. You should hear the filter pump start and the heater's light should turn on, indicating it's working. Once the water reaches the correct temperature, the light on the heater will switch off. After switching on, your filter may initially produce small air bubbles which could make it noisier than usual. You can gently rotate the filter to release any trapped air, but if your filter doesn't seem to be pushing water out at all, this is likely because it was not primed properly. Now just wait for the water to reach the desired temperature. Depending on the tank size, this might take some time, so I'd recommend leaving your aquarium running overnight before the next step. Once the water temperature is stable, you can add a bacteria booster and begin the cycling process. Congratulations, you're now on day 1 of your first freshwater aquarium. All that's left is to wait for the tank to cycle for a couple of weeks, and then we can add our first fish. In the next video, we'll cover your first few weeks of cycling your tank and how to know when it's time to add fish. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe for future updates.